Well, good afternoon and welcome to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. We begin today's live stream with breaking news. Reports out of Minneapolis that an ICE agent fatally shot a woman after a car crash incident. This is coming from KARE 11, our sister station in Minnesota. The incident occurred after Homeland Security sent more than 2,000 ICE agents to the Twin Cities in the, quote, largest DHS operation ever. Now, we are going to relay all of the information that we are getting, again, from our sister station, KARE 11, in Minnesota as we cover this shooting. So let's start with the foundational details. As of right now, and you can see this on your screen, we have live shots, two different ones of around where this incident occurred in Minneapolis that you can witness as we read you some of the details here. Hundreds of ICE agents, Minneapolis police officers, and neighbors have flocked to the corner of 34th and Portland Avenue near Powderhorn Park as the morning has progressed. Again, that is what you are seeing on your screen as far as we've been told from our live feed information. Now, a witness told KARE 11's Jonna Shortle that a federal agent shot someone and first responders administered life-saving aid. The Department of Homeland Security reportedly told NBC News that a woman rammed her car into ICE agents, which incited the shooting. Now, Department of Homeland Security officials confirmed around 11:45 a.m. that one person died in the shooting. DHS officials did not confirm whether the crash was between cars or between a vehicle and ICE agents. A witness told KARE 11 that the victim was trying to flee from ICE agents when she was shot dead. Officials have not confirmed whether she was the target of an ICE warrant or not. Now, a burgundy SUV was visible at the scene with a bullet hole through the driver's side windshield. The SUV smashed into a light pole, and there are two damaged cars nearby. From what we can see, it's difficult for us just looking at the scene to tell exactly what happened or to really pinpoint any of the details that we just read to you. And you can see the crowds there. You can see the number of law enforcement officials. You can see that there is sort of a general sense of chaos. If we maybe switch over to channel 1 for a brief moment here, Naya, you can see even more law enforcement officers arriving at the scene as this situation continues to progress here. And again, we can't exactly tell from what we can see what happened, or we can't pinpoint where this happened or sort of see the path that the vehicle may have taken. We can only sort of see the scene as a whole and new developments that are en route in that scene. And of course, we have the details here from KARE 11 that we have been reading to you since the stream began. Now, two damaged cars are parked the wrong way on a one-way street, and Portland Avenue is closed to traffic on Wednesday morning. So it appears as though we're monitoring the live feeds as we go here. It appears as though we will have some sort of press conference out of the city of Minneapolis at some point. But that remains to be seen. That's simply something that we see coming together on one of our live feeds. Can we go ahead and pull up channel 2, Naya, so that we can give the audience sort of a look at what we're seeing? You can see the podium, and on the front of the podium is a seal that says the city of Minneapolis. So it does appear as though there will be a press conference of some sort in Minneapolis. We will go to that if it goes live at any point. Okay, let's go back to the scene and let's once again go over the details, and then we'll start to look into some information that we've gotten from elected officials so far. So KARE 11, our sister station in Minnesota, is reporting that an ICE agent shoots and kills a woman in Minneapolis after a car crash incident. The incident, of course, has occurred after Homeland Security sent more than 2,000 ICE agents to the Twin Cities in the, quote, largest DHS operation ever. Added context, Governor Tim Walz recently suspended his campaign for a third term as governor. There are investigations and probes ongoing into welfare fraud scandals that may be happening in Minneapolis that are being investigated. And of course, President Donald Trump has been vocal in his speech about the Somali community in Minneapolis. So that even more context to the situation that is happening in Minnesota, a city and a state that has been in the national headlines for some time in late 2025 and now into 2026. Let's get back to the situation that is occurring today specifically. Again, the Department of Homeland Security has confirmed as of Wednesday morning that an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis. The DHS told NBC News that a woman attempted to ram her car into ICE agents and an agent shot and hit her. Hundreds of ICE agents, Minneapolis police officers, and neighbors have flocked to the corner of 34th and Portland Avenue as the situation has progressed. A witness told KARE 11 that the victim was trying to flee from ICE agents when she was shot dead. Officials have not confirmed whether she was the target of an ICE warrant or not. So that is the foundational information here. Let's move on to some different social media posts from various elected officials in Minnesota and Minneapolis. Let's start with Governor Tim Walz. We just told you once again on Monday, Governor Walz suspended his campaign for a third term as governor in the midst of that federal probe into a possible welfare scandal in Minnesota. He is tweeting today, "My public safety team is working to gather information on an ICE-related shooting this morning. We will share information as we learn more. In the meantime, I ask folks to remain calm." That came at 11:46 a.m. this morning. In the meantime, I ask folks to remain calm. Obviously, a potentially volatile situation in Minneapolis again, and this doesn't just begin this morning. There has been a lot of headlines coming out of that city and that state for some time here over the last few months. Okay, how about Mayor Jacob Frey? Mayor Jacob Frey said, "I am aware of a shooting involving an ICE agent at 34th Street in Portland. The presence of federal immigration enforcement agents is causing chaos in our city. We're demanding ICE to leave the city immediately. We stand rock solid with our immigrant and refugee communities." Again, that is Mayor Jacob Frey, Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis. And now moving on to the city of Minneapolis, which also was tweeting earlier today about this incident. We are aware, similar in theme to the two tweets that we just read. "We are aware of a shooting involving a federal agent at 34th Street in Portland. We are working to confirm additional information, but what we know is that the presence of federal immigration enforcement agents is causing chaos in our city and making our community less safe." So those are tweets from Mayor Jacob Frey, Governor Tim Walz, and the city of Minneapolis today. Let's go ahead and pull up our map so we can take a look at the location that we have kind of pinpointed that's being reported for where this incident may have happened. Of course, first you see, again, you can just see the general chaos. This gentleman being interviewed here, it looks like, and you can see just police lights all around the area, law enforcement vehicles all around the area. People walking to and from. It looks like it's both officials and residents of the area. We can go ahead and pull up that map now, and you will see we talked about the park was nearby. You can see that park, Powderhorn Park, over there to the right. To the left, you can see a rec center, and then if we zoom in, you can kind of start to see the tracings of a neighborhood. Obviously, we are not especially familiar with this area, but from what we can tell based on the images that we've seen, based on that top left image that comes up on Google Maps when you type in the address, it appears as though it's residential. Again, a rec center to the left, a park to the right, images of houses in some of the video that we've seen. This is the image that comes up when you type in the address on Google Maps, and it certainly appears to be a residential area from what we can tell based on these images, the map, and then you can maybe see a metropolis down the street there. You can kind of see the outline of a city skyline if you look straight down Portland Avenue there. But that is what we can tell thus far about this area. Now, it does look like a gentleman is speaking from this block here on Channel 5, on one of our live channels. Now, can we listen in and see what this gentleman is saying? We don't have much context other than to know this is coming out of that block. You see the police tape behind him where this incident happened. Let's listen in now.
Be able to lie through that. The truth will come out, and the public must be reminded in this moment that no one is above the law. No one, no ICE, no one is above the law. And we are today declaring and calling for all law enforcement agencies in the state of Minnesota. Do not allow for the federal agency or the FBI to dominate or dictate what is happening in this moment. We need every agency involved in protecting the citizens of this great state and city to take their role and responsibility in bringing charges where warranted and hold these officers who killed this young woman responsible, because we still believe in the Constitution of the United States and we still believe in the rule of law in the state of Minnesota, no matter whatever is happening. And so we are demanding justice for this young woman. We are demanding justice for our state and for our country. I also want to remind folks in this moment of incredible tense and feel and angry and frustration that we are all feeling in this moment. We know the adversaries of our nation are aiming to take advantage of this moment, to take advantage of this president that we have, to take advantage of what is happening. And I call upon the decency of all of us, no matter if you are for ICE or against ICE, I don't care where you are. We call upon you to think about our nation, to think about your neighbors, to think about this young woman who has been killed today, murdered today, we believe clearly. We want you to know that this is unacceptable behavior. What ICE has been doing has been dangerous. The targeting of Somali Americans and Somalis in general, who are mostly citizens of the United States, is dangerous and not only unacceptable, but the best, in fact, the best textbook definition of racism and discrimination in this country. I want to say something that my faith leadership would probably speak to me today, and I've been thinking about this because we've been thinking about these moments before. We've stood like this before after the murder of George Floyd. We have stood like this after the shooting that took place in our Catholic school here, not far from here. We have stood together many times, even after the murder of our great speaker, Melissa Hortman, and her husband. We as a community have come together, and I want to just say that, you know, in this moment, there's something happening in this nation. And God chose us to bear the burden of responding to this moment. And so I call upon all of you to think in this moment that we are on the clock. Minnesota is on the clock. Minneapolis is on the clock. All the goodness that we have, the greatness that we are as people is on the clock. That means we need to stand up and be better than those who have engaged in violence against us. That means we stand up and we say the truth, even if that truth means we tell the full truth of everything that takes place. In this moment, we as the citizens of this great state, as neighbors and friends and families and faith leaders and leaders of all kinds and people of all faiths and all walks of life, Minneapolis, it is cold, but it's not cold anymore. It is time to wake up and realize that we need to fight for justice. We need to stand up for justice, and we need to stand up for the truth no matter what is happening around us. This should have not happened this morning. It should not be happening anywhere else. It should not be happening in every corner of the city. So while this incident is taking place right now, some of you at home have considered that your role may be a little bit less. This is a moment you decide to do more. If you thought ICE may not be coming to your neighborhood, they did come and they are coming. If you thought that maybe something like this would not happen, it did happen. If you thought for some reason maybe there's something good about this, but you realize the worst thing we just saw, an evil version of it. So I want to just thank everybody for coming out. I know we are in deep pain and frustration today, and I'm sad to say there's a family among us tonight that will not have a loved one with them, but they will have the love from all of us with them. And for the first time, they will see the goodness of all of us, and we will stand up for her. We will stand up for all of our neighbors. And in this moment, we must fight for all of us. And I'm demanding the governor, I'm demanding the VCA, and all other law enforcement agencies, the county prosecutors and others, to look at this incident and to properly bring charges where warranted. Now I'd like to turn over to Myrack. They have been also on the ground. In fact, Myrack actually has received a lot of the eyewitness information, and so we will be sharing that hopefully with those agencies as time. I want to bring Myra to talk. Woo!
Hello everybody, my name is Mira Altavell Resendez. I'm a member of the Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee, or MIRAC. We are a grassroots, all-volunteer immigrant rights organization that's been fighting for legalization for all and an end to deportations in the Twin Cities since 2006. We are here today to represent people who have been putting so much on the line, taking so much time and energy out of their days to do what's right, which is to defend innocent people, to defend immigrants, even if they aren't whatever definition of innocent that you have. That does not mean that ICE can go in and kidnap them without any due process. That's right. And it means even less that ICE can show up into our communities and kill somebody who was only here trying to do what Minneapolis does best, which is protect each other. That's right. That's right. Yep. I'm really, really proud to be a Minneapolis resident. I'm so happy to live here because I know that the people show up for each other. In 2020, after George Floyd was killed, we showed up in the streets and we said that we would not stand for it. And that's what we are doing here today, only a few blocks away from that site. I'm also embarrassed to be in Minneapolis living here and to feel representative of it, because this type of violence, this political violence from our law enforcement agencies is nowhere near you. Law enforcement killings in Minneapolis.
Okay, so a few speakers there taking to what appeared to be a megaphone and just speaking to the gathered crowd at the site of this morning's incident involving an ICE agent. You also can see images, if we go ahead and take this split screen, Nia, and I'm glad you pulled this up, of people gathering together, comforting each other, again, at the scene of this incident. It looks, from what we can tell, like there are large crowds of community members. If we could take Channel 5 here, Nia, now that they've kind of reset their camera, and just large crowds of people out at this scene on Portland Avenue where the shooting happened this morning, in addition to law enforcement and that gathering crowd. Again, speeches given on a megaphone, but by what ostensibly are community members, speaking to the incident that happened this morning, speaking to the people of Minnesota. And of course, we already heard Governor Tim Walz, a tweet put out by the governor speaking to the people of Minnesota. The same from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. We're waiting for a potential press conference to get started. We don't know when that might happen. I think what we'll do here maybe is go over the details of this incident one more time. We apologize if you have been with us from the very beginning. This will be your third time hearing these details with only slight updates perhaps, but we want to make sure that if there's anyone who has just joined, that we lay the foundation for a story that we'll likely be covering for a large portion of this stream. So let's quickly go through this again. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed on Wednesday morning that an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis. Now, the DHS told NBC News that a woman attempted to ram her car into ICE agents and an agent shot and hit her. Hundreds of ICE agents, police officers, and neighbors have now gathered at Portland Avenue near Powderhorn Park. A witness told KARE 11, our sister station in Minneapolis, that the victim was trying to flee from ICE agents when she was shot dead. Officials have not confirmed whether she was the target of an ICE warrant or not. A burgundy SUV is visible at the scene with a bullet hole through the driver's side windshield. The SUV is smashed into a light pole, and there are two damaged cars parked nearby. So, That is currently the reporting coming from KARE 11. If we could take this scene that we have on our preview screen here, Naya, there you can see we've seen the gathering of neighbors and community members. Here you can see law enforcement sort of lined up behind that yellow tape. Behind law enforcement there in the corner, you can see more of those crowds of people. But that is law enforcement there. It looks like if you look at the patch on the shoulders there, that's Minneapolis police that is lined up there behind that yellow tape. So again, one person confirmed by the Department of Homeland Security Wednesday morning, an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis. That is based on reporting from our sister station, KARE 11. Okay. Now, as more updates come in on this story, as any further press conferences start, or as we see anything developing at the scene, we will continue to go back to Minneapolis as we progress. For now, I think we're going to explore some of the other headlines of the day that we have to touch on here during our stream. Let's go ahead and we have a number of different pre-recorded press conferences for you. We have one from the House Democrats, we have one from House Republicans, and we have a White House press briefing. A brief update on the situation in Venezuela. We've been talking about this all week. Over the weekend, U.S. armed forces extracted President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela from his home country, brought him and his wife here to the United States. They stood in a courtroom and declared themselves not guilty to indictments brought against them earlier this week. The update today comes as the United States seized a Russian-flagged oil tanker that was linked to Venezuela and transiting the North Atlantic. A separate tanker was seized in the Caribbean. ABC News reporting that this tanker is expected to be part of Russia's shadow fleet, which Moscow is accused of using to evade international sanctions. Now, the United Kingdom Ministry of Defense says it supported U.S. efforts to seize the Russian-flagged tanker. So that is the newest update to come out of United States international relations in Venezuela. And, of course, we will hear from these elected officials, and we've only heard bits and pieces of those press conferences so far during our research, but we would imagine that Venezuela will be one of a number of topics covered. So why don't we go ahead and listen to portions of each of those press conferences now, Naya, and we'll continue to monitor the situation in Minnesota. We'll start with the House Democrats press conference on Wednesday. Let's go to this pre-recorded press conference right now and listen it.
It'll be a week here, but thanks to all of you for your work and for continuing your work in covering Congress. We're here today because the American people have been clear for more than a year. They need us to lower costs, and they need us to do it now. But instead, Donald Trump has been breaking his promises to the hardworking Americans who put him in office. Remember when he promised to lower costs on day one? What did he do instead? He gave pardons to 1,500 violent criminals who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. He promised to always put Americans first, but this week he is focused more on Venezuela than he is on the United States. And that's saying something because he is not focused on the priorities of Americans. He promised to lower health care costs, but instead his single legislative accomplishment was cutting $1 trillion from health care in the big ugly law, the largest cut in health care in American history. But Democrats aren't losing sight of what the American people want in this moment. We're working tirelessly to deliver real solutions to the table that will make America more affordable and prevent health care costs from going up. This week, House Republicans will have a choice if they want to join with us, if they want to work with us on our mission for working people in driving down the cost of health care. Even though Speaker Johnson tried everything he could to prevent Democrats' discharge petition from extending the Affordable Care Act tax credit from getting a vote, we succeeded. Republicans may have already let these health care subsidies expire, but they have an opportunity to right the wrong of their leadership. Millions of Americans are counting on Congress in this moment We need just a handful of Republicans to join with us. I'm confident that we will get this done for the American people because failure is not an option. Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. We are all saddened by the sudden passing of Representative Doug LaMalfa. I had the opportunity to serve with him both in the California State Legislature as well as in Congress. He represented his district extremely well. He was conscientious, he was respectful to all of his colleagues, and he will be missed. My prayers are with Doug's family and his friends. As Chairman Aguilar said, the American people want us to work on the affordability crisis. We know that healthcare costs are skyrocketing, food prices continue to increase, and electricity rates in a number of areas are surging. And what is Donald Trump focused on? In his words, quote, running Venezuela. That is crazy. That is not what the American people want. And now, apparently, the Trump administration is taking some of the oil from Venezuela and then using those funds to help rebuild Venezuela. Well, the administration should be focused on rebuilding America and our economy, not on Venezuela. And we have an affordability crisis. And what are Republicans this week focused on? The Shower Act. Showerheads. Literally, they're going to be talking about showerheads when Democrats fought for and got a discharge petition passed. So we'll be voting on extending the tax credits for the Affordable Care Act. I also want to thank Chairman Aguilar for his great work on the January 6th Commission and this week.
Okay, I want to apologize. This may be a little bit confusing. Those were House Democrats recorded earlier in the day. We have House Republicans, of course, as well that we plan on getting to. But House Democrats just took to the podium live once again. Same location, but this press conference is happening live. So we're going to stick with the live stuff. That is our goal here. It is a part of the title. We're going to go out now live to Capitol Hill and listen in once again to House Democrats on a slightly different topic happening right now.
Know whether or not the oil market, which is already filled with reserves, is going to accept more oil. We don't know how much this operation is going to cost. This uncertainty leads to great instability, not just in Venezuela, but in the region and with the United States of America. It brings insecurity. This president is all about spheres of influence. But what we've seen when we leave it up to China and Russia to have their own sphere, they dominate it. And that's when they threaten the United States of America. This is not about spheres of influence. We need to make it as a Congress about a sphere of governance. We, as a United States Congress, need to step up to our constitutional authorities. We need to ensure that this president abides by the Constitution. But this is what happens when you come to Congress, when you lie to Congress, and when you go around Congress. That's why Congress needs to show tenacity, a tenacity that it hasn't shown in the 119th, now more than ever. Not just to prevent these types of wars, but to make sure that we live up to our constitutional duties. It's my honor to represent a good friend of mine, fellow veteran, Jason Crow.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you to my fellow veterans. It's always an honor to stand with them in defense of our Constitution and our nation. I must say, as a 3-time combat veteran, I get pretty damn hot when a 5-time draft dodger bangs the war drums and talks about how easy it is to send boots on the ground in a foreign country. It's a pattern of abusing our military, disrespecting our military that continues to this day. You know, I learned years ago that when elites bang the war drums and talk tough in Washington, D.C., they're not talking about them or their kids going to do the thing. They're talking about kids like me, working class folks from around this country where I grew up that have to pick up a gun, jump into a helicopter or a tank and a ship and go do the hard work. And that's why I bristle when elites once more in this town are so cavalier about the use of American lives and the use American military power. Let's also be clear that our job as members of Congress is not to be cheerleaders. You've seen all sorts of our Republican colleagues talking about how amazing this operation was. I agree with them. There's no doubt that we have the ability to go almost anywhere in the world at the time and place of our choosing and kill or capture our adversaries or our enemies. That is true. But that's not our job as members of Congress. Our job is to make sure that's being done the right way and for the right reasons, and we're being stewards of the taxpayer dollar. Here are some things we know to be true. There's a lot we don't know, but here are some things we do know to be true. This is not about drugs, and this will not stop the scourge of fentanyl and meth that is killing our children and devastating our communities, because none of those drugs actually come from Venezuela. The drugs that are actually killing our kids are coming from other places. Here's another thing we know to be true. This is not about democracy and freedom for the people of Venezuela, because you've just heard over and over again that the Maduro regime remains intact. In fact, it's more oppressive sitting here today than it ever has been. What this is Donald Trump acting like an organized crime boss and using our military to shake down foreign leaders. Not only is that wrong and illegal, but it's going to undermine the safety and security of the American people. Because a smaller, weaker America with fewer friends means we have to go it alone. And when we go it alone, Americans have to suffer the consequences. That's what this is about. That's what we will continue to fight back against. That is what our duty and our oath compel. Thank you.
All right, well, I want to thank my amazing colleagues. It makes me so proud to stand up here with all of you fellow veterans. You heard powerful words backed by deep credibility from the members of Congress standing with me. But fundamentally, you heard from Americans who are willing to do our jobs here in Congress, just as we did our jobs serving the country in the armed services. We'd now be happy to take your questions. And because we are a military group, I will not hesitate to designate folks to answer them. I'm not going to answer all the questions myself, but if anyone would like to jump in, just speak up.
In the briefing, did you receive any indication that your justifications of law enforcement or national interest could be laying a predicate for actions in other countries like Cuba or Colombia?
Jim, you want to take this?
Look, obviously, we're not going into much about the briefing, and I don't think we should, based on the fact on the TS nature of that briefing. However, what we've seen from this administration is obviously statements that have made clear their intentions as to what they want to do when it comes to, as I said, this sphere of influence, this Don Roe doctrine that he so likes to brag about, basically letting others know that they will do whatever they want when it comes to intervention. And what's unfortunate, and what we have to stand up to, is that they're going to make up whatever they want when it comes to the legalities of these types of actions. I mean, this is the incoherence of this type of policy when they said the drug boats were about narco-terrorism, yet then they do regime change, and it's for law enforcement purposes. Like I said, this inconsistency leads to this instability, and unfortunately, that's why we have so much uncertainty at this point.
I'll just add that at some point you question the value of these briefings, because they've obviously been lying to us about this operation, so I don't know why we would believe they would tell us the truth about Greenland or anywhere else. Next question. Yes.
Thank you. A number of you have mentioned how you have to stand up to the Trump administration to have more tenacity or to have a spine, I think someone said as well. Could you realistically talk about what does that look like? And then have you spoken to any of your friends across the aisle to see if there's Republican support for standing up?
Who would like to take that?
You want to talk about the resolution and your resolution as part of that?
Sure. Why don't you speak to it, Pat?
Well, so I think there are multiple pieces to both formally and informally what we're able to do, and would welcome colleagues to join. One is we have already introduced a series of war powers resolutions, including one that tragically failed by one vote before the end of the year. And there are plans to introduce, including the one that Seth is leading, continuing legislation
to make clear, we will not fund another forever.
Okay, so that is House Democrats speaking about the situation in Venezuela. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey has just taken the podium. We're going to go out to Minneapolis Live right now.
To get justice and to make sure that there is an investigation that is conducted in full. But what we do know is that a 37-year-old woman is dead and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. And to the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better. There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave. It's on you to make sure that further damage, further loss of life and injury is not done. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now, and justice is what we've all got to get. Next, a message to our community. Look, we all know that the agenda of this Trump administration is to create chaos. Let us respond right now with our best versions of self. This is a moment where all of us in Minneapolis and beyond, we can rise to the occasion. We can show them who we are. We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis, Minneapolis, and that makes America, America. We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with love. We are going to meet that despair with hope. We are going to meet that injustice with constitutional justice ourselves. And we're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants. They want us to respond in a way that creates a military occupation in our city. They want an excuse to come in and show the kind of force that will create more chaos and more despair. Let's not let them. Let's rise to this occasion. Let's show them something far more beautiful than the kind of division that they're trying to stoke. Let's show them unity of purpose, of love, and the courage of our conviction. Our conviction, to be clear, is rock solid, and it is for our neighbors, all of our neighbors. It's for people who have lived here for 80 years. It is for new immigrants who have made this city a better place. That's the kind of love that we're going to show up with right now. If you're angry, I get it. I am too. If you're feeling that kind of despair, it's understandable. Let's show them who we can be. Let's show up with peace. To march, to protest, to hug one another, to love all the way with peace. Do not give them what they want. Finally, we've got a lot of work that needs to happen right now to make sure that, first, of course, the scene was secured as much as possible, that we were able to get the victim, now deceased, to the hospital. We've got a lot of work to do in the coming days. I want to thank our city enterprise for the work that they have done, but more importantly, what they're about to do, because this is going to be heavy and our city has been through a lot. We also know that we're prepared to do right for people. Among them is our chief of police. I'll invite him up.
My name is Brian O'Hara, BRIANO''HARA. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. This morning, Minneapolis police officers received a report of federal law enforcement being involved in a deadly force incident, meaning shots had been fired. Minneapolis police officers responded to the scene. We arrived and found a woman with a gunshot wound to the head. Life-saving measures were performed at the scene, including CPR. The woman was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center, where she has since been pronounced deceased. The preliminary information that we have indicates that this woman was in her vehicle and was blocking the roadway on Portland Avenue, midway between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the city. At some point, a federal law enforcement officer approached her on foot, and the vehicle began to drive off. At least 2 shots were fired. The vehicle then crashed on the side of the roadway. Minneapolis police officers secured the crime scene and assisted in trying to preserve the evidence that is there. We have since turned over the scene both to the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which will be conducting an investigation into this use of deadly force. I want to thank the mayor, city council president, other members of the city council, state legislators that were on the scene. This has been a very difficult time for everyone in the city. And this is obviously a very, very tragic situation where a woman has lost her life. That being said, in addition to this tragedy, which unfortunately we did predict, we were seriously concerned about further escalation from the scene. And I want to thank the elected officials that came themselves to help us prevent that from happening, as well as the individuals on that scene that remained peaceful and that abided by law enforcement instructions so that we could preserve that scene and ensure that a full and transparent investigation can take place. That being said, I just echo the mayor's comments that we ask that the community continue to call for peace. We understand people are going to be upset about what happened, and people are going to want to exercise their First Amendment rights. But please do so safely and lawfully to ensure that we do not have any further tragedy in this city or destruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, council members. Commissioner, I'll open it to questions.
Any idea on the identity of the ICE officer who fired those shots at this point?
I don't have that information, no. The question was, is there an identity of the ICE officer that fired? I do not have that.
Mayor Frey, we're hearing the ICE officer stopped a position from helping the lady who was shot. Is that true? We've seen videos all over social media that someone tried to help this lady, and they were told, they were pointing guns at and told to get away. Do you know about that at all?
So the question was, there's information out there that people tried to help the woman that was shot, and ICE officers then pointed guns at them and told them to leave. I do not have that information. I myself saw a video of the shots being fired as the car was driving away. What I can tell you is the narrative that this was just done in self-defense is a garbage narrative. That is not true. It has no truth. And it needs to be stated very clearly, since we have already seen a video of it. I do not know as to what you're talking about.
So, Mayor, she wasn't driving.
Over here.
She wasn't driving the car toward him, using her vehicle as a weapon.
That does not appear to be the case at all.
What's the city's protocol when an observer or an activist calls 911? They say an agent's phone or an agent's pointing a gun at them. How does the city of Minneapolis handle that situation? Go forward, consider it.
Repeat it one more time. I missed the first part of what you said. I'll turn it over to the chief. Yeah.
What does the city do when someone calls 911 and a federal agent's
Oh, I see. Yeah.
that sort of thing?
I'll turn it over to the chief. The question is, what does someone do when a federal agent is pointing a gun at them? Chief.
So, if I heard you correctly, the question is about when people call 911, what is the city's protocol in these situations? We've had a very dramatic increase in 911 calls related to this activity. We have a protocol in place that has been evolving as the situation has been changing. And at this time, there is a designated supervisor that is on duty 24/7 that fields those calls. And we do everything that we can to ensure that they are appropriately prioritized, with the priority being placed upon the protection of life and safety of everyone in the community.
Can you tell us any more about the woman who was fatally shot? Was she there as a legal observer, protester, bystander? What do you know that you can share?
So the question was, what can I share about the deceased? There is nothing to indicate that this woman was the target of any law enforcement investigation or activity. This woman was in her car, and it appears then blocking the street because of the presence of federal law enforcement, which is obviously something that has been happening not just in Minneapolis, but around the country. She appears to be a middle-aged white woman.
Chief, just about a month ago, you said these unplanned and questionable tactics by federal agents would result in someone being killed at a press conference right here. Do you consider today's tactics in line with that, or do you just have a generic response to the fact that somebody is now dead?
The question is that I had previously made several statements about being concerned about the tactics being employed. I am obviously very concerned that I have been told that a woman who was sitting in her car blocking the street and not the target of any enforcement activity is now deceased. However, I do not know, to be clear, I do not know the exact circumstances of the shooting, but I would tell you, in any professional law enforcement agency in the country, I think they would tell you it's obviously very concerning whenever there's a shooting into a vehicle of someone who's not armed. But it also is something that is possible. At times, it is justified. But it is very concerning, and it's something that Most law enforcement agencies in the country train very intensely to try and minimize the risk that law enforcement officers get placed into a situation that the need for deadly force would be necessary.
Has there been any indication of that in this case?
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Has there been any indication of the need to shoot into the vehicle?
The question was any indication about the need. I guess getting back to the justification of this, I have not seen any information other than what I have communicated.
Was she alone in the car? Were there children in the car with her?
The question was if she was alone in the car. I know that I got there shortly after this call came in. I did not see anyone else with her while I was on the scene. However, I've since been told by our officers that have been with her the entire time that a spouse has arrived at the hospital.
Mayor, just curious if you're thinking about contacting federal authorities to register your concerns about this, personally making phone calls, et cetera.
Yes, we've been on the phone all morning. As soon as we learned about this, again, there were a series of priorities that we needed to go through. The first, of course, is to keep people safe and to help the victim in any way that we could. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There was the notion that ICE agents would be necessary to create a perimeter around the scene itself. They themselves were creating the kind of dysfunction and chaos that they claimed to be trying to help with. And so the message that we delivered very clearly was to make them leave. Now, beyond leaving the scene, they should also leave our city and our state. We do work, our chief does work, our sheriff does work every single day to keep people safe in our city and in our state. And crime is dramatically down. Crime is down. It continues to trend down. They are doing the hard work of investigating, of arresting perpetrators of violent crime. What this federal administration is doing right now is not about creating safety. Do not let them tell you that what they are doing is about creating safety. It is not. It is having the opposite impact. We need to be clear-eyed about the work that is moving forward, and they need to leave Minneapolis.
We have time for one or two more questions.
Mayor, you may know this with your legal background. If a shooting is found to not be justified, does the city have any legal, or the state rather, have any legal recourse to bring charges against this ICE agent, given that this person is a federal agent, if the feds don't?
So obviously, and I have to always lead with this caveat because it is true, an investigation still does need to be conducted. I had my perception of what took place based on the vehicle and the vehicle's positioning. It does not appear that the individual is trying to ram anybody. Now, the question was, if it is in fact found to be an unjustified shooting, who issues the charge, who prosecutes, how does justice take place? I don't know the answer in full to that. This is obviously information that we're still working out. Chief, do you have any additional information, or Commissioner?
The only thing I would add to the mayor's statement is that the crime scene was held by the Minneapolis Police Department, and the investigation is now being led jointly by the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. And the purpose of their involvement would be to investigate whether any state laws within the state of Minnesota have been violated.
Can I just add something to that too? What's very important is that for our communities that we do have some kind of part in this investigation. It needs to be done on a local level. With all due respect to the federal level, we do need to make sure that our local agencies are involved. Most certainly the BCA is very well capable of working with our federal partners in doing so. That is something that is needed for our communities, and so that's something that I can tell you that there's already been conversations from the U.S. Attorney's Office to the BCA that have already taken place today. How that's going to roll out, we don't know yet, but we are making sure that there is some kind of local entity, namely the BCA, that has a part in this investigation for the purposes of transparency and expedient transparency as to what happened today.
One more. If that's it.
So,
Thank you, everybody.
final piece. Again, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you to the media for being here and disseminating this very important information around this tragic incident. To reiterate, a final message to our community members. I understand the anger. Let's unite around hope and love and peace and getting justice. That's what we need to be doing right now. I appreciate the service from everybody up here as well as the 435,000 people that call Minneapolis home. Thank you.
Got some housekeeping for you in just a moment after everyone leaves. Okay, so all media questions, first of all, I'm Scott Wasserman, I'm the Communications Director at the city. All media questions should go to communications@MinneapolisMN, like Minnesota, communications@minneapolismn.gov. There was a question earlier about what happens when you call 911. We have some information on our website, minneapolismn.gov/federal. minneapolismn.gov/federal. And then I'll be here if you guys have any questions.
All right, welcome back into the Live Impact News studio. A lengthy and emotional press conference from Mayor Jacob Frey and law enforcement officers in Minneapolis today. We would like to apologize first for the harsh language that was used during that press conference. There were multiple instances of language that we do not want to broadcast across Live Impact News, but the nature of this program is that we go live as the press conference is happening, and this can be the result at times. So we apologize for that language, making it across the airwaves. Now, that language does speak to just how emotional Mayor Frey was about this situation. What we heard in that press conference, a 37-year-old woman is dead, shot by ICE. Mayor Frey said, "We have dreaded this moment." He also said that he has seen the video himself. He said that an agent recklessly using his power or recklessly using their power was a quote that he ascribed to what he saw in the video, which again, he has seen himself. He told ICE to get out of Minneapolis using very strong language. And then, of course, there was more talk about support for the community in Minneapolis. So that is what has come out of that press conference, including a lot more emotional testimony from the mayor and law enforcement officials, as you heard right there. Again, a 37-year-old woman is dead, shot by ICE. Mayor Frey saying they've dreaded this moment as DHS has been sent, or as immigration officials have been sent into the Twin Cities. And again, he said that he has seen the video himself, and he described it as a agent recklessly using power. That is how it was described by Mayor Frey in that press conference. Now, with that being said, we will note that the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, told NBC News that a woman attempted to ram her car into ICE agents and an agent shot and hit her. So that is all the reporting we have for now to follow up that press conference. But again, an emotional press conference. The video is starting to appear on social media as we speak. So be careful in watching the video. We have not seen it, but it could potentially contain difficult imagery. Let's see. DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin has issued the following statement. ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow officers, and the lives of the public, fired defensive shots, used his training, and saved his own life and that of his fellow officers. The alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. Thankfully, the ICE officers who were hurt are expected to make full recoveries. Again, that is Department of Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin issuing that statement. And I will reiterate that Mayor Jacob Frey, in his press conference that we just saw, said that he has seen the video himself, and he described it as an agent recklessly using power. So seeing the dichotomy there in those two statements from two different, one federal government official and one city government official. Okay, that is the updates that we have for now on the situation in Minneapolis. Again, graphic videos appearing on social media that do show the interaction. So as you maybe navigate your own day, be aware that there may be graphic imagery in those videos. Now, that is all the updates we have on the situation in Minneapolis. So we are going to get to some other headlines right now as we speak. We have a White House press briefing to get to in which Robert F. Kennedy Jr. took to the podium in addition to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. So we have that video to get to. Naya, what do you think? Should we go to the White House press briefing now? And of course, we'll continue to provide updates on Minneapolis as they come.
Yes, that sounds good to me.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. I want to take another moment to apologize for the language. I want to apologize if the stream has felt a little bit scattered today. This is one of those days where we are trying to keep you updated on every piece of credible information that we get as we receive it, and get to every press conference that we can regarding this massive piece of breaking news that will undoubtedly be a national story for some time. So for any amount of chaos that you may have felt from our stream, we apologize. It is only an attempt to make sure that you are as up to date as possible. Okay, let's go out to the White House for the press briefing that occurred earlier today.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Yes, come on up, everyone. Lovely officials with me today. All right. Dr. Carson, come on up. Thank you so much. Good morning and Happy New Year, everybody. It's great to see you. It's great to be with a very packed room. I'm sorry we kept you all very busy over the holiday break. And I know there is a lot of news out there today, both here at home and around the world. I will be happy to take all of your questions on all of that news. But first, I'm really honored to be standing up here today with esteemed members of the President's Cabinet and his health team to make an important announcement with respect to the President's domestic promise to make America healthy again as we kick off the new year. In less than a year in office, the President and his incredible MAHA team have made real progress on this front. Here are just a few of the significant MAHA achievements thus far. More than a dozen food manufacturers and trade associations have made commitments to remove artificial and petroleum-based food dyes from their products. The Trump administration took strong action to bar hospitals from performing dangerous, irreversible, life-altering transgender procedures on children. The Trump administration announced funding awards to states through the Rural Health Transformation Program, an unprecedented $50 billion investment established under President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. The Trump administration has also worked with 18 states across the country to ban junk food purchases using SNAP benefits starting this year. And thank you for leading that effort, Secretary Rollins. Additionally, President Trump took historic action to secure most favored nation drug pricing and secured deals with major pharmaceutical companies to massively lower the cost of prescription drugs. And those effects are being implemented as we speak. Americans are going to continue to see the result of these incredible deals the president cut. And I know President Trump and this team behind me worked incredibly hard to lower those drug costs for Americans. On Monday, the CDC adopted common sense updates to America's childhood vaccination schedule based solely on the gold standard of science. This action empowers parents and physicians to make the best individualized decisions to protect our children, while also restoring much needed confidence in our public health system. And as a MAHA mom myself, I'm very grateful for that. So thank you, Secretary Kennedy. To build on this progress, the Trump administration is now updating federal nutrition standards and guidelines to ensure that Americans have the most accurate, data-driven information supported by science and hard facts, not special interests or partisan ideology. President Trump has tasked two of the great individuals behind me, USDA Secretary Rollins and HHS Secretary Kennedy, with collaborating on this vitally important project. And today they are here to officially unveil the 2025 to 2030 dietary guidelines for America. These new guidelines are informed by the best and most reliable research on health and nutrition, particularly as it relates to the role of our diets and the prevalence of chronic disease in the country. They are also guidelines are easy to read and understand, so every American, young and old, can access this information that literally has the power to change lives. But these are not just an updated guideline. These are the foundation to all federal food programs in our country. These new guidelines are going to update the food that is served to America's children in our public schools, to the plates that are served to our great men in uniform in our military, our veterans, and the food that they are consuming at the VA. And these new guidelines are also going to impact nutritional programs for the needy in our country, such as WIC and Head Start. Unfortunately, for decades, federal dollars has promoted low-quality, highly processed foods that lead to scores of long-term health issues, which means Americans have gone broke because of these health issues. Faulty dietary guidelines of the past stacked the deck against healthy eating and food options for everyday American families, which has fueled the chronic disease epidemic and jacked up the healthcare costs of households across the country. This failed approach in our public health system ends today. When these guidelines are followed, Americans will be saving themselves thousands of dollars. If we want to cut healthcare costs in our country, we must become a healthier country. According to the CEA, poor diet is the root cause of obesity, which accounts for $400 billion in medical spending each year. A healthier America will lead to a more affordable America. The new dietary guidelines from the Trump administration will ensure federal dollars go to real food to improve public health and therefore save the American people their hard-earned cash over the course of their lives. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Secretary Kennedy. The great people behind me will give remarks, and then we'll get into Q&A for the officials that are here on this specific topic. They will leave because they're all very busy people, and then I will open it up to Q&A with the rest of you on the rest of the news in the world. So thank you, and we'll start with Secretary Kennedy.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Today marks a decisive change in federal nutrition policy made possible by President Trump's leadership and the work of MAHA moms and public health advocates who demanded reform. Today, in accordance with President Trump's directive, Brooke and I will release the dietary guidelines for Americans 2025 to 2030, the most significant reset of federal nutrition policy in history. These guidelines replace corporate-driven assumptions with common sense goals and gold standard scientific integrity. These new guidelines will revolutionize our nation's food culture and make America healthy again. For decades, Americans have grown sicker while healthcare costs have soared. The reason is clear. The hard truth is that our government has been lying to us to protect corporate profit-taking, telling us that these food-like substances were beneficial to public health. Federal policy promoted and subsidized highly processed foods and refined carbohydrates and turned a blind eye to the disastrous consequences. Today, the lies stop. The new guidelines recognize that whole, nutrient-dense food is the most effective path to better health and lower healthcare costs. Protein and healthy fats are essential and were wrongly discouraged in prior dietary guidelines. We are ending the war on saturated fats. Diets rich in vegetables and fruits reduce disease risk more effectively than many drugs. Whole grains outperform refined carbohydrates. Added sugars, especially sugar-sweetened beverages, drive metabolic disease, and today our government declares war on added sugar. Highly processed foods loaded with additives, added sugar, and excess salt damage health and should be avoided. As Secretary of Health and Human Services, my message is clear: eat real food. Nothing matters more for healthcare outcomes, economic productivity, military readiness, and fiscal stability. The dietary guidelines shape dozens of federal feeding programs, including Head Start. These standards affect 45 million school lunches every day, meals for 1.3 million active duty service members, and food served to 9 million veterans in VA hospitals. Today begins the work of aligning those programs with affordable, whole, nutrient-dense food. Implementation requires coordination across the government. I'm working with many of my fellow cabinet secretaries to deliver results. I want to thank Bobby Mukamala, thank you very much, who is the president of the American Medical Association, for committing to mobilize the medical community on nutrition. And I thank also the American Academy of Pediatrics for partnering on this effort. I also look forward to working with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and Dr. Marty McCary to fund and prioritize rigorous nutrition research at the NIH and at the FDA. The stakes are measurable and severe. A Johns Hopkins analysis estimates that 48% of every federal taxpayer dollar now goes to healthcare. The CDC reports that 90% of healthcare spending treats chronic disease. That means that 40%, 40 cents of every dollar that taxpayers pay in this country is going to treat diseases that could be averted through good food. The United States has the highest obesity and type 2 diabetes rate in the developed world. We spend 3 times more per capita than the European Union on healthcare, yet our life expectancy is 5 years lower, largely due to diet-related chronic disease. Our childhood obesity rate is 5 times higher than countries like France. 1/3 of U.S. teens have prediabetes, over 35% are overweight or obese, and 20% of young adults have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. 77% of military-aged Americans are ineligible for military service because of diet-related conditions. If a foreign adversary sought to destroy the health of our children, to cripple our economy, to weaken our national security, there would be no better strategy than to addict us to ultra-processed foods. It's shocking that our own government helped to drive these cataclysmic changes in our diet. The damage is real, it is preventable, and President Trump has ordered it to end. If the United States reduced obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's to Japanese levels, we would save approximately $600 billion a year. About 50% of Medicare's projected long-term deficit, or $5,000 per family annually. Current policy worsens the problem. 42 million Americans rely on SNAP, where common purchases include sugary drinks, candy, and chips. 78% of SNAP recipients are enrolled in Medicaid, and 90% of Medicaid spending goes to chronic disease. These incentives raise healthcare costs and undermine health. This must change. The new framework centers on protein and healthy fats, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. And you can see the food pyramid here. It's upside down, a lot of you will say. But it was actually upside down before, and we just righted it. For the first time, the dietary guidelines directly address ultra-processed foods and set firm sugar limits in federal procurement, driving a significant reduction in added sugar in school meals. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership and the partners committed to ensuring that federal food dollars support real food and better health. Thank you. And I want to introduce my partner and a friend, Brooke Rollins, who was an extraordinary collaborator on this.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. What a honor to be here. I think this is Caroline's first press conference back, and what a great way to start the new year, 2026. I want to thank Secretary Kennedy. Your commitment to the well-being of Americans is such a blessing to this nation. We have been working on these new dietary guidelines really since almost day one. Bobby and I were voted on the same day and sworn in on the same day. So I think the partnership from minute one has been real and extraordinary. As Secretary Kennedy mentioned, America is in the middle of the worst chronic health crisis in our nation's history. Over 40% of the roughly 73 million children in the United States have at least one chronic health condition, and nearly 90% of healthcare spending goes toward treating people with chronic disease. Secretary Kennedy mentioned that, but it is really important to keep underscoring that fact. This crisis is unacceptable. It prevents Americans from living healthy and happy lives. And for decades under both Republicans and Democrats, federal incentives have promoted low quality, highly processed foods and pharmaceutical interventions instead of prevention. As a result, nutrient-dense whole foods grown by America's farmers and ranchers have been increasingly displaced. The Trump administration is acutely aware of this danger, and today this announcement is making a major step in doing something about it. Thankfully, the solution is simple and should be non-controversial: eat real food. This is the main message of the new Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2025 to 2030, which encourage households and schools to prioritize whole, nutrient-dense foods. That means more protein, more dairy, more healthy fats, more whole grains, more fruits and vegetables, whether they are fresh, frozen, canned, or dried. We are finally putting real food back at the center of the American diet. Real food that nourishes the body, restores health, fuels energy, and builds strength. This pivot also leans into the abundant, affordable, and healthy food supply already available from America's incredible farmers and ranchers. By making milk, raising cattle, and growing wholesome fruits, vegetables, and grains, they hold the key to solving our national health crisis. And President Trump is mobilizing government to ensure families across America have greater access to these healthy foods. In the past 12 months, inflation has slowed and wages have risen for the first time in 5 years. Under President Trump's leadership, prices for everyday staples are declining, and more help is on the way. Recent data show that fruits, vegetables, dairy, and proteins, including eggs, pork, and ground beef, are becoming even more affordable every day for our American people. American households enjoy the most affordable and abundant food in the world, and today's release only reinforces that reality. A healthy meal is within reach for all American families. These new dietary guidelines are a framework which is meant to be customized to meet the needs, the preferences, and the financial status of all American families. For example, a meal including such items as pork or eggs or whole milk or cheese, tomatoes, other fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables, whole grain bread, corn tortilla can cost today right around $3 for that meal. $3. And soon USDA will finalize our stocking standards, which means that those businesses in America that take the SNAP benefit, what they are required to stock in order to take that benefit. By the way, that's almost 250,000 retailers across America. That very soon we will be finalizing that rule that will mandate all 250,000 retailers in America double the type of staple foods that they provide for America's SNAP households. This means healthier options will be in reach for all American families, regardless of circumstance, at levels never seen before in our country. These dietary guidelines are foundational to so many USDA programs, and their introduction marks the first step in connecting America's schools and dinner plates to the best of American agriculture. Make no mistake, under President Trump's leadership, we are restoring common sense, we are restoring scientific integrity, and we are restoring accountability to federal food and health policy. The new guidelines are all about putting the well-being of Americans first, exactly where it should have been all along. This is the foundation that will make America healthy again, not just for those of us alive today, but for our children and our children's children and those coming behind. I want to end by saying God bless American families, God bless the American farmer and rancher, and God bless America. What an honor now to introduce another great partner in this incredible work, and that is Dr. Mehmet Oz. Thank you.
Congratulations to Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, and do want to express my appreciation for what the President has done overall to increase the affordability of health care. The biggest accomplishment perhaps for the health system, ability to drop down prices last year, was the most favored nation drug pricing that Caroline mentioned. These are incredibly effective at reducing the costs, for example, of what the President calls the fat shot, the Ozempic, GLP-1s category of medications. We dropped them dramatically. But the best way to reduce drug spend in America is to not need the drugs in the first place. What you're hearing today with these dietary guideline adjustments are going to be massively effective, and not just dropping the need for us to buy these weight loss drugs, but buy these expensive drugs for autoimmune problems. We have evidence that food is medicine when it comes to conditions as varied as mental health issues, from Alzheimer's and depression to fundamental realities of how children learn in school. So the question then becomes, what is this actually going to do in dollars and cents? And I had the group at CMS run some numbers for us to try to give you concrete assessments of how much this will drop the spend that the federal taxpayer must make for Medicare and Medicaid. And I'm more optimistic today than ever that we can address the fast rising rate of healthcare expenses in America because of movements like this. Right now, we're increasing health expenditures in America at roughly twice the rate of the GDP growth. We will correct that if we can get America to be healthier, because you can't be a wealthy nation without being a healthy nation. So 2 numbers for you to remember. The first is $30 billion. Why? 30% of healthcare costs are directly attributable to obesity. I'm not talking about indirect associated expenses, which are also present, but a very conservative number, 30%, are directly attributed to obesity. That's about $300 billion a year for just Medicare, If we were to affect obesity by 10%, which is an incredibly conservative and justifiable assumption that has been borne out in evidence-based dietary experiments and trials, just that alone is $30 billion of reduction of expenses for Medicare. That's also obviously correlated with Medicaid reduction in spending. In Medicaid, it's a different opportunity, because in Medicaid, we educate children. 53% of children in America are covered by Medicaid or CHIP, and we have programs to teach kids and their parents what to eat, and how to make these dietary guidelines that Secretary Rollins and Secretary Kennedy have crafted with their teams into practice. It will dramatically change the natural history of how children are able to participate in life. But let me give you one last number. If we're able to get the average American, who today retires on average at age 61, get them just to work 1 year longer, because they feel so vital, so strong, so bullish about their future, because they're feeding their bodies.
Okay, back here in the Live Impact News studio after that update from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and other government officials about new dietary guidelines, a inversion in some ways of the classic food pyramid that many of us kind of learned when we were younger. Grains now moving to the bottom of that pyramid, or, well, how do I put this? It literally flipped to where the longer end of the pyramid, not the tip of the pyramid, but the base of the pyramid is now at the top, based on a picture that I'm seeing here on NPR, based on some of the things that were being said. And the foundation of that pyramid is, proteins, red meat, cheese, vegetables, and fruits. Grains have now moved towards the less significant end of the pyramid. Maybe that's the best way to put it. So a new food pyramid with red meat, cheese, vegetables, and fruits pictured at the top in the more significant end of the food pyramid. Grains now in the less significant end of the food pyramid. As you heard in that announcement, and as I'm sure we'll hear more reporting on as time goes along. Okay, so that was a portion of the White House press briefing. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt does head to the podium at some point, and so we may have an opportunity to hear from her depending on how our stream unfolds. We are still covering the situation in Minneapolis. We do not have current updates on that situation since the press conference of Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, but we will continue to give updates on that as they come. For now, we want to give an update on the climate right here in Hampton Roads. We are joined in studio by meteorologist Hunter Forrest. Hunter, we haven't seen you in a while.
I know, it's been a minute.
And you join us in the studio with sunshine and warmth, not just your person, but the outside.
I know, it is a beautiful Wednesday. We are seeing plenty of sunshine. I'm
Shocked I don't see more people at the beach. There's a few.
Check the
going
corner
for a
there.
stroll.
Bottom right.
Right over here.
Yep, we got some people.
You can't see on air, but there are a good amount of people. People are jumping into the water, I think.
Are there people in the water?
I believe
Can we get a
so.
full screen of that image up and see if we actually do have people in the water? That might be a little ambitious. It's
That
warm
might be
outside.
on the far right side.
Oh, that's close.
I feel like I saw people in there.
I think you might be right, Hunter. It looks like we may have some people wading into the water, but we can't tell
are they surfing?
exactly. That is down by Rudy's Inlet, so that you will see surfers there
That's
sometimes.
definitely
but,
a surfer right there.
But we don't have. I mean, there are not big waves out there, despite the good weather. I don't see a lot of wave action. But hey. If it's been a long sort of end of fall, early winter where you haven't been able to get out there in the water, maybe it is a good time. Now, the water temperature is still quite cold.
Yeah, it's in like, I believe the upper 40s to low 50s.
Okay, so the water is frigid, but it's definitely nice enough to go hit the beach. How windy is it?
It is a bit breezy.
Yeah.
So that'll make it feel a little bit cooler. But, I mean, we're sitting, in the upper 60s to low 70s. I mean, look at that. Beautiful. 69 in Norfolk and Virginia Beach, 70 in Hampton, 68 in Newport News, 71 in Elizabeth City, 70 over in Chesapeake, and we'll stay in the upper 60s to low 70s as we go throughout the day today. A bit breezy, like we were saying, gusts 20 to 25 miles an hour, and satellite radar is looking good. We do have a cold front, though, that's going to come on by as we head into this evening and into the day tomorrow, so that's going to drop our temperatures for Thursday, but drop them back to where we should be for this time of year. So Thursday is still going to be a pretty good day. Average highs right around 51. We'll be right around there into the lower 50s on Thursday. Winds out of the northeast at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. But by Friday, we are back to around 70 degrees. It'll be a bit cloudier. But overall, I mean, Naya's dancing right now, which I can't blame her, because 70 degrees in January is just windows down, hand out the window, doing that little wave thing with your hand out the window like this.
Oh, car is driving.
You're driving.
And you're letting the wind kind of take the
You're listening to
hand
good
where it wants to
music.
go. Yes. Oh, you painted that picture perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the summer is in our sights, y'all. I know spring is going to be fantastic. We got to get through the U-airy months, but summer is right there. Nah, not really.
The what months?
The U-airies. January, February.
Okay.
You guys don't ever do that?
I've never heard it that way before.
The U-airies.
Okay, but I'm down with that.
Are we not? February and January, the two coldest months of the year.
The U-airies.
Tough months to get through in some ways.
Because now it's just cold and dark.
It's just cold and dark, but on weeks like this, we are reminded of what's to come in the spring and the summer. Naya's giving me the strangest look right now.
Do you give November and December the embers?
That's pretty good, Naya. I never thought of that, but it's pretty good. Okay, we might have to start to adopt this. You know what? We'll make a chart. We'll break things up.
Do you call...
Oh, don't even try.
I
know you're not going to make this work. I can already tell you're not going to make this work. Don't even try.
I don't think there's anything else that really works.
We've got the embers, and then we've got the U-airies. The embers are full of holiday cheer. The U-airies are full of cloudy drear. But once you get through the U-airies, it is springtime, and this week feels like springtime with that forecast that you're bringing to us.
It really does. And as we head into the weekend, still going to be pretty warm as well. But this evening, staying nice and dry, comfortable getting up Thursday morning in the mid to upper 40s to low 50s. But again, it's cooler in the afternoon. But still, some of us, could get to 60 around Murfreesboro and Roanoke Rapids. But a cloudy Thursday evening, we're in the mid 40s. And then we're waking up in the upper 40s Friday morning. I mean, that's great. You don't have to do that power walk to your car because it's feeling like 15 degrees. You could take your time heading to your car in the morning. And then by the afternoon, I mean, look at that. Upper 60s to low 70s. Beautiful. We chance for a few showers Friday evening, especially in our northern areas. But other than that, not looking too bad for Friday. And then we could see a tire record on Saturday. Our forecast high is 72, and that would tie a record set back in the 50s,
Wow.
1950s.
Okay.
But then a cold front passes on by, and we drop back into the mid-50s on Sunday, which is, still fine, for this time of year, still above average. We'll take that. But after that, we do see temperatures dropping even more. We'll be back into the upper 40s to low 50s by the start of next week. But you know what? 270s here. We could even get to 70 at Norfolk International today. So 370s this week. I mean,
zero complaints.
Zero complaints.
Absolutely zero complaints. Naya, what's our motto here on Live Impact News at 1 p.m.?
Live in the moment.
Live in the moment. Don't look at that 46-degree Monday
No.
that's coming. Enjoy the 69-degree Wednesday that we have right here.
Exactly.
This is great. And we're breaking records. I mean, this is not... Hampton Roads is prone to a little bit of roller coaster-ish climate, but this is, this is a little higher than usual.
Yeah, that's a good weekend.
Yeah.
70s for Friday and Saturday. That's
I
amazing.
mean, the rooftops are going to be popping.
Catch Hunter on the poppin' rooftops. If you're looking for Hunter Forst, head to the roof, but only if that roof is designed for tomfoolery.
Right.
Right.
And
For
as long as they have
enjoyment.
chicken nuggets.
As long as they have chicken nuggets and a sunny day. And we got a side eye from Naya. Naya has really been judging
Chicken
us
tenders,
here.
I mean.
This is-
There's chicken tenders are adult. Chicken nuggets are not. So I mean chicken tenders.
But they're essentially the same
Or
thing, no?
No, because chicken nuggets are, I don't know.
Smaller, but basically the same thing,
But
right?
like chicken
a fried,
tender is like the adult version.
Right. It's essentially just a grown-up chicken nugget.
Correct.
Yeah.
My friend would tell me when I would get boneless chicken wings, she would say that's the adult chicken nugget.
Boneless chicken wings are the
I can
adult
see
chicken
that.
nugget. But boneless chicken wings are so much more... boneless chicken wings almost feel like the child of the bone-in chicken wing, which is the true official best wing order. Thank you for joining us for your weather forecast here on Live Impact News. Let's go. You know what? We'll put aside a slow day for our chicken dissection. We did just talk about the inverted food pyramid. Okay, Hunter, is there anything else that we need to know for the weather here?
No, just enjoy the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, again, will be cooler in the low 50s, but then we're back into the 70s Friday and Saturday. A few showers maybe Saturday night, but like Naya was saying, a beautiful start to the weekend. Warm. You're going to want to get outside, and you could do a spring. You could do a summer activity.
Okay.
You know?
And like we said, water temperatures still cold.
Right. You can't. I wouldn't suggest jumping into the water.
Right. But head to the beach. I mean,
Well,
this is
it could be.
great,
It'll be a little bit cooler at the coast.
a little cooler at the coast, but this is a good time for a boardwalk.
Yeah.
Hang out on the boardwalk, hang out on Atlantic Avenue,
Yeah.
head out to Buckrow Beach. Maybe don't have to go into the water, but just spend some time outdoors enjoying the sunshine because, again, we're going to be back into the classic U-Aries climate pretty
Right.
soon. It's going to
Exactly.
be cloudy. It's going to be cold. So don't waste it. Naya has pulled up another Virginia Beach oceanfront shot for us. And there you can see quite a few people out and
I'm
about
jealous.
hanging out over by our DQ cam on 16th Street. Oh, beautiful. Great forecast, Hunter. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for bringing the sunshine. Can we see you at 4 p.m. today on 13 News Now?
I will. That will be Evan.
That will be Evan.
Yes.
Okay.
I did the noon today.
All right. So, Hunter, so you're all good to go after this.
Yeah.
All right. Hunter is out of here. Well, thanks for sticking around, hanging out. You've been very patient with us today, which we appreciate.
Of course.
Warmth, sunshine, and then it's going to get cold again next week, so enjoy it this week. That is your weather forecast with Hunter Forst, with just a brief interlude for a chicken nugget discussion. But there's always room on this show for a discussion of nuggets and tenders. Okay, we're going to shift gears here. We have a few live events still going on. We also want to make sure that we continue to touch on our main story today, the story that we began the show with, the story that we have been covering. We know it is a harsh turn, a harsh shift to go back to this, but it's just necessary for us to continue to provide updates on this situation. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed on Wednesday morning that an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis. Now, the Department of Homeland Security alleged that a woman attempted to ram her car into ICE agents, and an agent shot and hit her. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said that this narrative is false in a press conference that we took live here on Impact News. If you were with us at that time, you would have seen, he said, and I quote, "This, it was done in self-defense, is garbage. They are already trying to spin this action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, that is BS." That was the words of Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey in his press conference earlier today. Now, again, a DHS spokesperson, Tricia McLaughlin, issued the following statement. ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow officers, and lives of the public, fired defensive shots using his training and saved his own life and that of his fellow officers. The alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. Thankfully, the ICE officers who were hurt are expected to make full recoveries. That person who is deceased was a 37-year-old woman, dead, shot by ICE. And, you know, you can just hear the statement from Mayor Frey, the statement from the Department of Homeland Security. You can see the differences in those two statements addressing the same incident. So as we go forward, as more reporting happens, as more investigation happens, we'll see details emerge in this situation. And there also is video that is floating around on social media now that has started to be posted of this incident. If you do come across that video, you know, it may have graphic content, so just be forewarned. Now, Governor Tim Walz tweeted 2 hours ago, my public safety team is working to gather information on an ICE-related shooting this morning. We will share information as we learn more. In the meantime, I ask folks to remain calm. Just 22 minutes ago, Governor Tim Walz tweeted again. He quote tweeted a Homeland Security tweet that Homeland Security tweet was describing the incident in similar language to we just read from that DHS spokesperson quote. Governor Tim Walz tweeting 22 minutes ago in response to that Homeland Security tweet, I've seen the video, don't believe this propaganda machine. The state will ensure that there is a full, fair, and expeditious investigation to ensure accountability and justice. So Governor Tim Walz announcing that there will be an investigation and including don't believe this propaganda machine, I've seen the video in his tweet responding to Homeland Security. And as you can see on your screen right now, more live images of the area where this happened. Throughout the morning in that area, we have been seeing large, you can see a little bit on the side of your screen there, large gatherings of community members, big crowds on the scene, and it's almost as if the camera person heard us here as they zoom out to reveal, and now they're kind of panning away from it, but you saw at the top of your screen momentarily there, large crowds of people, neighbors, and likely community members. Now we're going to pan back towards that, and that's even a little smaller than maybe we saw earlier today. But still a decent gathering of people. There you see law enforcement sort of standing by on the other side of that yellow tape, and there's barriers there that have been put up as well. You can see crowds sort of crawling around those barriers as they have some, you know, neighbors and other community members. We saw some community members speaking to the crowd in megaphones earlier today. So that is the scene where this occurred. Again, a 37-year-old woman is dead in Minneapolis after she was shot by ICE agents this morning. And just looking at the video, it does appear to be a residential neighborhood. We don't know for sure. It's very close to a park. It's very close to a rec center. Earlier today, we kind of dissected a Google Maps of this particular scene. It appears to be a residential neighborhood, but again, more information that we are waiting on to be sort of confirmed and fleshed out before we're able to fully know all the circumstances. But our sister station in Minneapolis, KARE 11, has been doing an excellent job, and we have been relaying a lot of their reporting to you throughout the day. So that is an update on the situation that continues to unfold in Minneapolis. It's one that we will continue to cover ourselves here on Live Impact News. Now, we've seen part of the White House press briefing. We did get to see Robert F. Kennedy and hear from Robert F. Kennedy as he talked about inverting the food pyramid. We are now going to go out to Texas, where the trial continues for an officer that was present at the Uvalde, Texas Robb school shooting that happened years ago, where that particular law enforcement official, the school officer, the school police officer, is on trial for his action or lack of action, if you will, during that particular day. So let's go live out to that trial right now.
of, even if I exclude her testimony, you still, if you wish, could cross-examine her and do that.
Okay.
And then at the conclusion of that, my thought could be to exclude it at that time.
Yes, Your Honor. It is not, because I guess my concern would be if we excluded it now and they haven't had an opportunity for it.
I was going to give you that choice, but you jumped ahead of me.
Sorry, Judge. I'm sorry. I got a little afraid. I'm sorry.
All right, Ms. Mitchell, what do you have?
Your Honor, we just have a state's response to the defendant's motion to exclude the testimony of witnesses SH in anticipation of their motion. So I just want to file that with the court for the court's consideration. If you could file stamp this copy too.
Okay, well,
And that's my copy.
Yeah.
The first copy is for the judge. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to file stamp copy.
Okay, so again, this is kind of a sua sponte remedy that I've devised. It's not really their motion. Did you file a written? Did you file something?
No.
Okay, okay.
This is just anticipation of an oral motion to
Okay.
exclude, Your Honor.
Okay.
I don't know, Your Honor, can we confer as to possible remedies and see if we can come up with a solution? Would the court be open to that?
I mean, if y'all agree on a remedy, I'm happy to entertain that, but I want the record to reflect that pursuant to Heath, I do have, discretion to craft a remedy any way I see fit. But what I've already done, for the record, is we have given a continuance to the defense until tomorrow, and we're having a hearing outside the presence of the jury to entertain potential remedies and make findings of fact if necessary. But for the record, there was a motion for mistrial, and on that motion for mistrial, I'm going to find it's denied because I think the remedies available are sufficient to protect the due process rights of the defendant. And if y'all want to agree on a remedy, I'm happy to entertain that, but I have one in mind, and I'm going to give the defense some leeway on how they want to proceed with the witness in front of the jury in the event she's recalled after we talk. So take 15 minutes, y'all talk, and we'll come back into court, and I'll review the state's response to the oral motion and finish the other in-camera matters that were submitted to me. But is there a place, if you want to just go back to my office, I'll stay here and you can go back to the office that they've provided me.
We have a room actually that they've given us over here that's.
Or you can go, actually you can go to the jury room if you want to, because nobody's there. But I'm assuming that contemplates conferring that everybody goes. The state joins you. Okay. That's fine. All right. Well, y'all let me know. We'll be in recess till you come back.
Okay, so that trial going to recess now. As you can see, we only got to hear a brief moment from that trial. Now, we have a couple other things that we want to and can get to. I think we listened to House Democrats speaking about both health care, and then in a later press conference, the situation in Venezuela earlier today. House Republicans also took the podium earlier today, so we're going to listen in on what House Republicans had to say right now. We've got about 16 minutes left here in stream. We're going to try to get a couple more things in before 3 o'clock. For now, let's go out to House Republicans.
This isn't going to work.
Yeah, that's really high.
I can't even reach the button. Jeez. I've always wanted to do this. You can raise it after me. Well, good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. I want us a little somber today, but yesterday our conference lost an extraordinary member, colleague, Doug LaMalfa. Doug LaMalfa devoted his life to serving the people of Northern California. He cared deeply for his community, and he stood proudly for the people and the land that he loved. Doug, you could always count on for his candor, his humor, and sadly, that will be missed, and he will be missed. Our thoughts and prayers are with the LaMalfa family, his wife Jill, and their 4 children, as well as his constituents that he served and cared about so deeply. But even in grief, House Republicans are getting back to the people's work. This week, we're cutting red tape to make it cheaper to build and furnish a home. We're advancing 3 appropriation bills that ensure spending is accountable to the people. And that's a massive shift from what Democrats have done and have prioritized over the last 4 years. We need to look no further than Minnesota and the Waltz waste scheme, of which I'm sure our whip will have something to say about later. I want to be very, very clear about what this Waltz waste scheme was. Democrats took money from our kids. Democrats took money from your kids, the kids who need it most, dumped it into fraudulent daycare facilities, and turned the other way when this abuse was reported. This has been their pattern, so this really shouldn't surprise anybody. But what's happening there is absolutely disgusting. Tim Walz can announce that he won't run again for governor, but he will still be held accountable by House Republicans, and that's exactly what we're doing this week in the House Oversight Committee. Republicans' efforts this week build on what we delivered in 2025. The largest middle-class tax cut in history. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats voted to raise everybody's taxes, but we didn't let that happen as Republicans. We eliminated taxes on tips, on overtime, and tax cuts for seniors. We expanded the child tax care credit and delivered real relief for working class families. Now, we're going to further continue relief by lowering costs on housing, energy, and health care. Democrats can either get on board or explain why they're still defunding the policies that caused this crisis. And they're defending these policies that caused this crisis. Lastly, I want to end with recognizing President Trump and the actions that he took this weekend to protect American lives. For years, Maduro's regime turned Venezuela into a pipeline for deadly drugs, fueling one of the leading causes of death in our country. I think we all know somebody who has died from a drug overdose. President Trump stepped in and decisively took action. He didn't shy away from putting America first. He didn't shy away from taking action, and that's the bold leadership. That's exactly what we're bringing back to this country, and that's exactly the bold leadership that this country needs. And it's the same bold leadership that we're bringing to the House this year. With that, I'm proud to turn the floor over to one of my colleagues and friends, Carlos Jimenez, who is acutely aware of the situation of what's going on. So with that, Carlos.
I want to thank our conference chair. Thank you, Lisa, for this opportunity. And again, our hearts are with Doug LaMalfa and his family. It was a great loss. Doug was a super, super guy. Turning to the topic of Venezuela, you know, the number one job of any government is to protect its citizens. And for years, international drug cartels, terrorist cartels have been killing hundreds of thousands of us in America, and we've turned a blind eye. And so we have failed. We failed miserably in the number one job of any government, which is to protect its citizens. Donald Trump has reversed that. And with the arrest of Nicolas Maduro on Saturday by FBI agents, assisted by the way, an incredibly capable military and an operation that was unbelievable and will be historic in how it was all carried out. This administration has arrested Nicolas Maduro and his wife and brought them to face American justice for his hand in killing and harming Americans and in also harming American interests. Make no mistake, he was and he is the leader of the Cartel de los Soles from Venezuela. That's one of the cartels responsible for the deaths of, like I said, tens and hundreds of thousands of Americans for years. And so I think this is the beginning of, this is not the end of this struggle, because we have other cartels that we got to look at and destroy as they've had a hand in killing us here in America. And so on behalf of the people that I represent, I want to thank President Trump for the decisive action that he took. The people in Miami, the people of the area that I represent, are very happy that Nicolas Maduro is out of the way. And now, hopefully, it paves the way for a free and democratic Venezuela. A Venezuela that is not an adversary of the United States, but a Venezuela that is an ally of the United States, and a Venezuela that is no longer ruled by an illegitimate leader, because Nicolas Maduro is, in fact, an illegitimate leader. It was proven by Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez when they won their elections a year and a half ago by over 70%. But he's an illegitimate leader, and so now we can turn to a free, hopefully a free and democratic Venezuela. I know that's what President Trump wants, and I know that's what the Venezuelan people in Venezuela and the Venezuelan people that have fled Venezuela want desperately for their homeland, to be able to say that once again they can go back home to a free, democratic, and prosperous Venezuela. Venezuela is one of the richest countries in natural resources in South America. They will be able to restore their country with their own resources. They're not going to need much help from the United States. And there are people that are already waiting, including Maria Corina Machado, to take the reins of power. It's going to take a while. This is not something that's going to be done overnight. This regime has been in power for about 25 years. We don't want chaos. We don't want bloodshed in Venezuela, and the Trump administration is working hard to make sure that that doesn't happen, but that at the end, there will be a free and democratic Venezuela. And again, I want to thank the President for taking his decisive action to protect American lives and American interests, but also to restore freedom and democracy to the people of Venezuela. Thank you.
Okay, back in here, live Impact News after hearing from GOP members of the House. Remember, we heard from House Democrats earlier today. The last thing we're going to have time for here is to get to a statement from outside of Nick Reiner's arraignment earlier today. Nick Reiner, the son of Rob Reiner, of course, accused of killing his parents in that brutal death over the holidays. Rob Reiner, a Hollywood mainstay as a director, actor, and producer. So Nick Reiner's arraignment in his parents' killing earlier today. Lawyers spoke outside of that arraignment. Let's listen in to the lawyers now.
I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel. Circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control, have dictated that, sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. I'm legally and I'm ethically prohibited from explaining all the reasons why. I know that's a question on everybody's mind. We expect the public defender to step in. They've already been appointed and very capably protect Nick Reiner's interests as he moves forward through the system. But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. In fact, we know, we're not just convinced, We know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case, Nick's case. You know, a lot's been printed of late, over the last 3 weeks. A lot has been printed about Nick, printed about his family, printed about the circumstances. Speculation is in print. On December 15th, in the early morning hours, I was in New York at the time, and I got a call. Me and my team, we dropped everything. And for the last 3 weeks, we have devoted literally every waking hour to protecting Nick and his interests. We've investigated this matter top to bottom, back to front. What we've learned, and you can take this to the bank, is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that. Print that. We wish him the very, very best moving forward. And that's all I have today.
Who's that call from? Who's that call from? Your firm is forward to do this.
Had any in-depth conversation.
Have you talked to the Reiner family?
I have not.
His former attorney says he's not guilty. Would he be pleading not guilty?
We'll discuss that with Mr. Reiner and see how to proceed.
Does Alan's decision complicate the case for you?
Not at all. It's not uncommon for private counsel to turn over cases to us, so no, nothing about that would complicate the situation. I have talked to him for only 30 seconds this morning, so no, I have no idea. I only spoke to Mr. Reiner for about 30 seconds this morning. I have no comment about his mental state. I have not. We've had no contact with the family. I don't think they were aware that this was going on until this moment.
What's the next step? What do you do next?
At this point in time, Ms.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Hockman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. With me is Habib Balian. He is the Assistant Head Deputy of Major Crimes. He will be prosecuting this case. I'm here to make 3 points, and then I will not be taking questions afterwards. In our criminal justice system, every defendant is entitled to a lawyer who will zealously represent their interests and do so effectively. So too is Nick Reiner, whether it's Alan Jackson, someone from the Public Defender's Office, or any lawyer. He's entitled to that lawyer, and we'll make sure he gets that lawyer. Second point, in the process of dealing with that lawyer, we will make sure, the DA's office will make sure, that that lawyer is provided with full discovery of all the facts that pertain to this particular situation, whether it's interviews, whether it's any type of video, whether it's any type of expert reports. We'll make sure that that lawyer gets the facts necessary to effectively represent their client in a court of law. And third point, we are fully confident that a jury will convict Nick Reiner beyond a reasonable doubt of the brutal murders of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, and do so unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay, so covering stories, headlines, press conferences, trials, and everything else you can possibly think of here up until the last minute on Live Impact News. And, of course, big news to finish our stream there as Nick Reiner's lawyer stepping aside and a public defender appointed to his case. Again, Nick Reiner accused of killing his parents during that gruesome murder over the holidays. And this was the arraignment for that trial. And after the arraignment, we hear from his defense attorney, who, again, has stepped aside, and a public defender assigned to the case. That'll do it for our stream here on Live Impact News. An incredibly busy day today. Of course, we opened the stream with the tragic news out of Minneapolis that a 37-year-old woman is dead after being shot by ICE. We covered that throughout the day. Surely there will be more coverage of this story as the week carries on. But for now, that'll do it for Live Impact News here on this Wednesday. And, we jumped right into breaking news. So I didn't even get a chance to introduce the People's producer, Naya Campbell, as we started our stream, as we so typically do. So instead, I'll say, Naya, any last words on our stream today?
No last words, but would you like to end the stream with a look at this growing crowd in Minneapolis?
Absolutely, 100%. Let's end the stream with another look at the block where that shooting happened in Minneapolis. As you can see, as Naya said, a growing crowd. We will see everybody tomorrow.